Hello, fellow human light beings. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. Welcome back to the Thunder Wizard channel. And I'm coming on late today. This is October 18th, 5:30 p.m. my time. I don't think anybody on here is live because I think most of the people who follow me are in other countries. So, but it's easier for me to record a live stream. It takes less time for me to do that. So I'm recording this live stream. I wanted to talk about this today. This is the solar flash update for October 18th. And I want to talk to you about the intensification of the ascension symptoms that are hitting us. Things are really getting intense. And I know I'm feeling it and I'm seeing it in other people as well. So perhaps you're feeling a lot of intense emotions. You might even be having a lot of physical things going on. And I'm here to tell you it's a direct result of our human 3D resistance to this higher dimensional shift that is coming. And hopefully I'll have time to talk about what a 5D spiritual warrior is. And the reason for that, I want to talk about being a spiritual warrior, is because astrologically, there are so many things going on right now. I mean, I couldn't even begin to list all of the things that are going on. But suffice it to say that there are so many planetary alignments and placements, some that haven't been seen in hundreds of years, and some that haven't been seen in decades. And the last time some of these alignments that we have were going on, 9/11, things like that. You had crazy, intense, horrible things happening. So as you know, there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of tension in the world. There's at least two very nasty wars going on, and innocent people on both sides are getting killed and injured. And, I send out my heartfelt compassion and love, and continue to meditate and hope that people take all of that anger that they're feeling and put it on themselves, looking at healing themselves. Because look, here's the thing about violence in any form, whether it's emotional, psychological, physical, military. Violence is about people in tremendous pain, internal pain. Nobody acts violently unless they've been deeply wounded. And the whole point of violence is to devalue somebody. I mean, obviously there's, ending people's physical existences, but that is the ultimate expression of devaluing somebody, saying that you don't have any value. And the truth is, we all have tremendous value. We all deserve to be alive. We all deserve to be loved. We deserve to be seen. We deserve every good possible thing in this universe. And the sad part about the state of the world, which is why this solar flash is hitting us, and why this particular three-dimensional Earth is coming to an end, the reason why is because the universe is no longer going to allow us to devalue ourselves. And violence is a projection of that. Whenever you act violently or abusively towards anybody, you're really projecting an expression of your own self-hatred, your own insecurity about your own value as a conscious being. And when you value your own consciousness and you celebrate and worship the divinity within yourself, it is impossible for you to harm somebody else. And to the degree that you do harm somebody else, that is a reflection of your own self-devaluation. I'm learning this lesson. There are people in my life that are, just absolutely ruthlessly attacking me in ways I never saw coming, and These were people that I cared about. And but I know what's happening. I know why it's happening to them. I know that they're responding from their own deep wounds that were given to them, as well as their own struggling with their own self-devaluation. So really the question we have to ask is, why do people devalue their own existence? And this has everything to do with becoming a spiritual warrior, and we're going to talk about that in this video. But I just wanted to acknowledge and, be with you if you are in pain, if you're having challenges and difficulties, whether that be physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, or all of the above. Just know that I stand with you, and together we can heal ourselves, and together we can shift. I do believe a solar flash is coming. I don't know when, and I don't know what that's going to mean. My interactions with higher dimensional beings, they are still very adamant that this shift is coming. And the intensity of the experiences that I have in my meditations continue to get even greater and greater. And it means that I have to keep dying more and more to myself and to my 3D self-devaluation programs. And I'm becoming aware, more and more aware of how I can improve, how I can be more loving and conscious and patient and kind. And, I definitely am learning that I need to be more patient with people, and that my direct approach isn't always, people aren't always ready for that. And so, I acknowledge that and definitely meditate and send out energies to anybody that I may have unknowingly devalued. And at the same time, I value my own essence, and I'm working hard to strengthen my boundaries so that I don't unnecessarily take on other people's victim mentality or their codependence. Walking that fine line of knowing your boundaries and allowing people their limitations. This is something that I think everybody is struggling with, and we're seeing that in very, very dramatic ways with these wars that are happening. I mean, that's really, what's sad about, without me taking any sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, what's sad is that both parties say the same thing. Both parties say, you won't allow me to live my own life in my own land. And that is that's why this, they're willing to kill each other over this. Why there's so much brutal, hostile aggression on both sides. And, I've made my opinion very clear in other videos about where this all started. But the truth is that what happened in the past is meaningless. Because once you start saying, the past this, and but I was right first, and once you start doing that, even if it's true, you get into an intractable situation and nobody wins. And the only way that conflict is resolved is when both parties go into their own spirit, love themselves, and then are willing to accept the other person exactly where they are and not hold any resentments. And that is why these wars, the one that we're talking about, that's what's keeping it going. The truth is that the war itself was orchestrated by people who aren't Palestinian or Israeli. It was orchestrated by other people who are taking advantage of and manipulating the pain, the karmic, historical, and personal pain of these people in this region. And that's probably the saddest part for me to know that a lot of the things that we're seeing, a lot of the provocations are done by somebody else. And then, we watch the aftermath. So I'm not going to make any judgments about that. But I just really wanted to talk about that. And I certainly feel it. And I grieve with everybody on every level, no matter what they're going through at this time. If you're not in that place and this powerful shift is something that is pleasant for you, please don't let me rain on your parade. I know some people are really starting to align with this and they're shifting up, and good for them. They're not listening to all the garbage that's going on the news and this powerful energy that's hitting them. They're responding to it, and they are cooperating with it and surrendering to the shift. And that is really the key: surrender to the shift. So before we go any further, I do believe, as I said, that there is a shift coming. I don't know when, I don't know exactly how, but I believe it's coming, and we're getting closer and closer every day. I can't help the feeling that something huge is coming. Something huge. Before the shift comes, there's going to be more stuff. I don't know what. And I think our awareness will have a lot to do with what that turns out to be. So I encourage everybody to focus on their perfect reality, their perfect world. And it may sound like escapism, but when we stop allowing ourselves to be manipulated by these orchestrated events of horror, when we allow ourselves to not be manipulated by that, the people behind the orchestrations of these horrible acts won't have any power over us. And that's really what this is about. It's the last gasp of the dark forces that are trying to hold on to power. And let me be clear, these are psychotic, psychopathic people whose entire existence in their own mind is based upon feeding off of others, whether that be feeding off of your labor, feeding off of your sanity, feeding off of your energy, feeding off of your finances, feeding off of your codependent obeisance. And so the thought of you not being a source for them is death. This is why these dark forces do not want to be part of the shift. This is why, according to many insiders, the dark forces underneath all of this know that human ascension is coming. But when they look at it with their tools, what they see is the end of the world. They believe their world will come to an end. And what it means is that their identity, because this is the ultimate self-devaluation. Narcissists, people throw out the word narcissist and they don't know what it means. Narcissist does not mean somebody who is self-absorbed. That's not what narcissism means. Narcissism does not mean somebody who has strong opinions, who has a high self-esteem, or thinks highly of themselves, or is even bombastic, opinionated. That is not narcissism. Narcissism appears that way. It looks that way. But what's really going on is all of that self-absorbed, bombastic, controlling behavior, what it really is, it's an overreaction to a feeling of insecurity, a feeling of deep insecurity, and a feeling of not being valuable and lovable. And by the way, that is what kills people. That is the source of all illness. I don't care what the illness is. how it manifests, whether it's, whether it's cancer, or whether it's heart disease, or whether it's, joint pain, or whether it's, whatever the hell it is, it comes, it's a manifestation of a lack of self-love. And how that lack of self-love is playing out in the person's psyche is how it is expressed physically. Cancer, for example, is deep, chronic, repressed rage. Where the cancer is located will explain to you what the rage is about. So that's just an example. So a narcissist is not somebody who is full of themselves, who is bombastic, who is opinionated, who is, all of that, self-absorbed, although those are the external symptoms of a narcissist. A narcissist is somebody who has no identity and who feels at their deepest core that they are completely, totally unworthy of existence. And the truth is, for these extremely mentally ill people, if they were to feel this at full force, it would kill them. So their survival depends on them not having that experience. So what do? They overcompensate and they completely project it on everybody else. So all people are, to the true narcissist, the psychopath, people are just soulless action figures. And whether they feed off of your obeisance, whether they feed off of your fear, whether they feed off of your pain, whether they feed off of your money, whether they feed off of your whatever it is, they're feeding off of you because they have nothing within themselves. So what ends up happening, since the abuse of the narcissist, and the reason why I'm using this is because we live in a narcissistic society. Our society has become a society of narcissistic abuse, and people are either being the abuser or they're being the codependent, voluntary codependent victim. And codependence and narcissism are two sides of the same coin. They can't survive without each other. Victim mentality is the flip side of the narcissistic abuser. And the interesting thing is the codependent victim will become a narcissistic abuser at some point. They vacillate back and forth. The best example is the people pleaser. I've used this example a lot because this is called chronic codependence, needing to please other people, needing to get other people's approval, needing to fix everybody, needing to go and fix other people's pain is not coming from a place of love. Because if you love somebody, you help the people who want to be helped. The people who don't want your help, you don't help them. You honor their decision to not seek out any help. So needing to go fix the damaged people who aren't asking for help isn't because you honestly want to help them. It's because you don't have any value in yourself, and your value comes from saving others, being seen as the healer, being seen as the savior. This is why, I don't worship Jesus. Jesus is chronically codependent. He saves people that don't want to be saved, that haven't asked to be saved. He allows these same people to put him on a cross and kill him, all the while passive-aggressively and self-righteously, condescendingly saying, "Forgive them, they know not what they do," so that he will look better. It's just classic, chronic, untreated codependence. And what is he doing? He's volunteering to have the anger of his father towards these other people. He says, no, give it to me. I'll take it. Give it to me. So he's, what's that word? He's a masochist. He gets off on being abused for no reason. And that's because he has no value in and of himself. And so the Jesus figure is the spiritualization, the projection of our own codependence. That's why that's why Christians worship both God the Father and Jesus, because human beings right now live in a society that is alternating between psychopathic abusers and codependent victims. And this is why Christians are so intolerant to all other religions, because all other true spiritual paths say, yeah, man, whatever works for you. If you go to a Hindu and you say, except for the Krishna worshippers, which is a whole other subject, but you go to a Hindu worshiper and you say, which God is the best? They're going to say, I don't know which one is best for you. I worship Ganesha. I worship Shiva. I worship Kali. I worship Lakshmi. I worship Rama. There isn't a best one. It's the one that works best for you. They're all coming from the same source. Everybody's welcome here. Every path is the true path. You never hear that from this narcissistic, codependent society that we live in. It's looking for that. Our governments have turned into, you don't have any value in and of yourself. What you do is for the good of the whole. So get this, do this to yourself, do that to yourself, follow this mandate, because you need to, as Arnold Schwarzenegger ubiquitously said, screw your freedom. And he was talking about people getting something they didn't want to get. And, for him, you should get what you don't want because it's good for everybody else. And as you know, this is why I don't like the law of one. The law of one is codependent because the core of it is, if you're 51% giving to others, you're valuable enough to ascend. If you give 51% or more to yourself, then you're selfish. And that creates a dualism that doesn't exist in the universe, which is, you never have to choose between giving to yourself and giving to others. When you give to yourself, you give to all conscious beings. And this is what we teach on this channel. Before I go any further, by the way, listening to me talk is great, and I'm getting stuff off my chest, so I appreciate you listening. Hopefully it will be helpful to you, but this channel is about taking action. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the 5D path of the spiritual warrior. So if you're new to this channel, there are 3 things I want you to do. I want you to go to the free playlists on my YouTube page, and I want you to go to the Qigong and do the Awakening the Immortals, Qigong. Do that, or do the Hul breath or the Hua breath, but the Awakening the Immortals is incredibly powerful, and I believe it was given to me so that I could give to people right now. So that's free. It's very, very, very advanced and very powerful. So that's the first thing I want you to do is go learn the Awakening the Immortals. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to go to the 12 steps to 5D. And I want you to start doing those 12 steps. Because this will cure this narcissist codependent dynamic that we have going on in our world and within ourselves. And then number 3, what I want you to do is, let's see, what did I do? I said Qigong, 12 steps. What was the other one? There's a third thing I want you to do. I can't remember what it is now. But when you've done the Awakening the Immortals and you feel that power, if you decide you want more of that, then my suggestion is to go here to thunderwizard.com, the website, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. There's hundreds of videos in there, but I take you through a specific protocol. And all you have to do is simply press play and physically do what I do, because we can't think ourselves into this transformation. This transformation will only come about through action. We live in a universe where action is everything. Meditation. Oh, the third thing I wanted you to do was to go to the interdimensional meditation folder and do one of the free guided interdimensional meditation videos. But once you've done those and you want more, go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe. Now, the most powerful spiritual practice that I've ever done, and I think probably is the most powerful spiritual practice on the planet, is the Mao Shan practices. I talked about that yesterday if you want to go watch that video. And I am still giving away every single one of my videos, including the $3,000 video teaching package of the 5-element Mao Shan moving forms. You can find that here at 923.thunderwizard.com. Those were originally $3,000. All the other stuff adds up to something like $2,000 or $3,000, and I'm giving all of that to you. $5,000 worth of stuff for just a few $100. So that will be on for a little while longer. Go there. My books, michaelwilliamdenny.com. Please read my books so you know what I teach, especially the new ones. Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth, Interdimensional Revolution, and the most important book, which we're going to talk about later, which is the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. You can find my books at michaelwilliamdenny.com or Amazon Kindle or Audible. Sorry. All right. I had to get that off my chest, or I had to get that in there because that's what keeps the lights on. So anyway, I could go on and on and on about that. So let's talk about what it means to be a 5D spiritual warrior. I was thinking about this today because running into people who still have been throughout their lives, and maybe you know people like this. I know I've had my struggles with all of this. People who are still struggling physically with all kinds of physical ailments and problems. And so a spiritual warrior starts with an assumption. If you do not ingest and meditate, if you want to think about something, here's something to think about. If you do not ingest and meditate on this assumption, you might just be spinning your wheels. You might have a really good path. You might have a really great meditation path. You might have a really good physical exercise diet. You might even be in therapy. You might have all these really good things. But if you don't truly absorb this assumption, you very well may just end up spinning your wheels. That assumption is that the universe loves you unconditionally, and that the universe is completely, totally devoted. I mean, all of the infinite energy of the universe, all of that energy is completely, totally focused and devoted on you having every single thing that you want. Meaning what you truly want. Some people don't know what they want and what they think they want, and that's a whole other subject. I talk about that in the 923.thunderwizard.com. I have a Get Your Perfect Career, and I talk exactly how you can figure out the difference between what you truly want and what you think you want. So you have to start with that assumption. And you can't have any self-devaluation if you don't believe that. But did I say that right? You can't have any self-devaluation if you believe that. if you believe that the universe loves you unconditionally and is completely, totally focused and ready to give you everything you've always wanted every day for the rest of your life, if you really believe that, you cannot have any self-devaluation. So what I've found, and I talk about this in my book, The Shamanic Secret, but what I've found, and I've seen it again, just like as clear as day, I saw it today with people that I know. What I saw is that that people are unconsciously, and I've done this. I know this because I've done this, so I'm no different than anybody else. But what we do as humans is we unconsciously put all of our effort into denying ourselves what we truly want. That doesn't make any sense, right? Consciously, people complain all the time. People that I term as victims, the victim mentality people, they complain all the time. And they complain because they consciously know that they're not getting what they want. And yet nothing changes. Or things get worse. Or even worse, people get what they want and then they end up seemingly becoming victims of circumstance where the whole world is against them and everything. Why is the world doing this to me? I just got everything I wanted. So if you accept the assumption that I've given you, which I strongly urge you to do, that the universe loves you unconditionally, values you more than anything else. There is nothing more important to God than your happiness. And that all of the resources, the infinite resources of the universe, are poised at the ready to give you everything you need so that you will have everything that you want. If you thoroughly believe that, then you're ready to move on to the next thing. Now, the question is why? If what I just said is true, why do people end up being miserable? Why does that happen? Well, if what I just said is true, then the only conclusion that you can come to for anybody's misery is that they are bringing it about. Now, here's where things get challenging. As a teacher, this is the most challenging thing I go through. The most difficult thing to go through is trying to deal with somebody's unconscious resistance to their happiness. And that's the only thing that you have to overcome in life. Let me be clear about this. Everything is just details. We're all different in different ways, many, many different ways. We're unique from each other in all kinds of different ways. But there's only one general thing that we are here to do. And that is to conquer our self-directed, unconscious resistance to our happiness. That's the only thing there is to fight against. Your own resistance to your own happiness. Now, so if we follow what I said, the universe wants to give you everything and loves you. So it's not the universe doing it to me. So then if the universe isn't making me unhappy, I'm doing it to myself. And here's the problem. How can that possibly be? Everything in my conscious mind and all the time that I spend complaining, I obviously want to be happy. So why would I do this to myself? And that is the question. Why do human beings make themselves miserable? Because you say, well, I don't make myself miserable. An asteroid came out of the sky and crashed and landed on my car and blew up my car and burned up my house. If you believe the first assumption, you have to assume that you manifested that. Now, what happens to people who are unconsciously resisting their happiness, if I tell them that, If I say to some poor guy who had his house burned up and his car destroyed because a meteor fell out of the sky, and I say, you manifested that, he's going to call me a victim blamer. He's going to say, you're victim blaming me. I'm a victim. Why don't you have any compassion for me? No, I do have compassion for you. I just know that these things don't happen unless you manifest them, because it's impossible. The universe has no interest in doing that to you. The universe identifies with you being happy. So the universe isn't going to do what God the Father does, which is take an innocent person, put him on the cross, and pour out all of his homicidal rage that he has for every single human that's ever been born. That's not how the universe works. So since I know that, the only conclusion is he must have manifested it himself. So the question is, why? Why would somebody unconsciously or consciously choose to block their own happiness? And I have the answer to that question. The answer to that question is, go back to what I was talking to you about the narcissist. The narcissist believes that if he feels, he doesn't feel it unconsciously. He unconsciously feels. He feels that if he or she were able to fully 100% see how badly they feel about their own existence, if they were to truly feel the feelings that are going on, which is that they deserve to die, which is their feeling. If they were to truly feel that, the feeling that nobody loved them, that the universe didn't love them and people didn't love them, which is really what they feel. They feel that nobody loves them. If they were to become conscious of it, the overwhelming, horrific pain of that could kill them. This is a fact. It could kill them. So it means that those of us who aren't full-on psychopathic, psychotic, mentally ill narcissists, that means the rest of us, we feel that same self-devaluation. We feel unworthy of being loved. We feel unworthy of being happy. We feel unworthy of being alive. This is why, as you know, taking the example of the people pleaser, this is why the people pleaser seeks out the most damaged person who hasn't asked for help and makes it their project to help the other person. And they don't do it because they care. They do it because their value comes from what they do, not for who they are. And so the question of why would somebody manifest destroying all of something wonderful in their life? They manifest it because they believe that they will be loved if they're a victim. People who have victim mentality believe that their worth on an unconscious level, they don't consciously feel this. Consciously, they feel victimized. Unconsciously, they feel their value comes from being a victim. Their value comes from being abused. I stumbled on this video. It doesn't matter how. I mean, YouTube is how I make a living. So sometimes I just let YouTube show me different videos to give me ideas about what to talk about. But I stumbled on this video of a woman advertising. I mean, afterwards I came to realize she was advertising her services. But she was making a video talking about she couldn't wait to meet so-and-so, whatever his name was, because she was going to punch him in the stomach as hard as she could. And it was clear from the video that this is what this guy wanted, that was his fetish, that he wanted to be with some wrestler chick that was going to punch him in the stomach. So obviously that guy gets his jollies, which means he feels loved when he's punched in the stomach. And we're laughing at that because it's silly, but I mean, obviously, if I were to, I mean, the psychoanalysis possibilities of that guy are, we're going to find out that underneath all of that, he hates himself. But somewhere along the line, probably because he was beat as a child, I'm going to guess his mom beat him. I mean, it certainly would make sense. Maybe that's not it. But if a child is beaten by his mother, since his mother is the one that gives him his value, because that's where it starts. The baby comes out and the baby gets their value from their mother and their father. And then later on, all the people around them. And if the people around you tell you that your worth comes from being beat up, or being abused, or by you meeting all of my needs and being a people pleaser, or by being a violent kid, or by whatever it is, wherever you get your love and your feeling of this is what gives me value, that is going to be the programming that determines your life from then on, unless you choose to become conscious. And then you have to struggle to change that. So here's where most people are. Most people are aware that what they're doing is not working for them. But they don't know how to do anything else, number one. And number two, even if they did know how to do something else, the impulse to be loved and approved of is so overwhelming that they can't stop themselves. And so the ingrown, unconscious programming of being devalued means you're loved, being beat up means you're loved, being poor means you're loved, being miserable, being alone, being sick, being an abuser, being a toxic manipulator, all of those things mean that you're loved. Unless you have the ability to face that impulse and overcome it, you will not be able to do anything else. And this is why people get angry with me when I say that everything in your life you chose, and they get furious at me when I say that because they know it's true. But the worst part is, knowing it's true doesn't give you the ability to change anything. And so they get furious because they're protecting still the desire to be loved. And so this is why people are in conflict with themselves. So the fifth dimensional warrior is the person who goes to war against their own unconscious resistance to their own happiness. And if you are able to, especially in the book, The Shamanic Secret, if you're able to master what's in that book, then you are able to change your life path, which is to get love and approval. That is what everybody's doing. Everybody's trying to get love and approval. When you change that to getting your own happiness and joy and the desires of your soul met. That's why in the book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment, I say there's only one commandment, and you have to treat it like a commandment. The 10 commandments, Jehovah says, you can't do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and if you don't do everything that I say, then I'm going to curse you. That's the religion. If you don't follow every single one of my commandments, Jehovah says, I'm going to curse you. So we do that to ourselves. And if you take the commandment that you must give your soul everything that it wants, you must determine what your soul wants and give your soul everything that it wants. And if you don't do that, you will be cursed. But of course, you're going to be the one cursing yourself. You will be miserable. And there's only two paths. And the way is getting narrower. The closer we get to the shift, it's getting harder and harder to just sit in the middle and not make a decision about who you are and what you want. You can't do it anymore. I am seeing people who, up until recently, were very conscious, very loving, very positive people, turn into psychopathic abusers. I mean, like overnight, a switch went on in them and they lost it. Or people who were on their way to really being happy and prosperous, and then overnight completely losing their mind and completely destroying everything in their life. Now, those are extremes, and not everybody's on that level, but I've seen it like never before. I've never seen this level of psychotic craziness. And I understand why. It's because the energy that is hitting the earth, what this solar flash is, it is a wave of love. Now, let me be clear. Love is not codependent. And codependence looks like love and might even feel like love if you're a narcissist or a codependent. But it's not true love. True love says, I see you for who you really are. You are valuable to me simply because you exist. Because you are awake and alive and conscious, and because you have feelings, you have value. And what is sadly ironic is that when that level of vibration hits people's codependence or their narcissism, the response to that is to fight against it. And the reason why is because whether you're a narcissist who gets their value from, treating other people like objects, or whether you're a codependent where you want to be treated like an object in order to be loved and approved of. When somebody says to the codependent, for example, the people pleaser, who spends their life trying to please other people so that they can feel valuable, when somebody comes along who truly loves them, that person will say, I love you for who you are, not for what you do. And the person will immediately feel rejected. The people pleaser will try and find some way of people pleasing you. And the person who loves them unconditionally will say, I don't want that from you. I want your essence. I want to see your truth. And they will feel rejected. More than likely what will happen is the people pleaser, because people pleasers also don't value people's boundaries. When they go to give you unsolicited advice, or when they go to do something or heal something that you haven't asked for your help, that is a violation of other people's boundaries. So when a healthy person comes along who's self-empowered, who loves themselves, the people pleaser will undoubtedly do something to violate their boundaries. And then the person who loves themselves will put a boundary up. And the people pleaser will feel rejected. And then they will become abusive. The narcissist is also a codependent, and they will also respond negatively when you put up a boundary. But the person who loves themselves, if they inadvertently bump into somebody's boundary and the person lovingly puts up a boundary, that will have the other person, the other healthy person, love and respect them for that. And say, I want to hang out with you. I feel safe with you. So this is a long way of saying that the only way out of this is to make the spiritual warrior commitment that you are going to find out what your soul wants, and you are going to commit yourself to the end, even if it kills you. You are going to commit yourself to meeting the desires of your soul. Now, you have to assume also, remember here are the assumptions. First one is that the universe loves you unconditionally and wants only your happiness and is completely devoted to giving you that happiness. You don't need to do anything except exist. And that the only commandment that there is in this world is that you must meet the desires of your soul. And the third one is that if you're a human being in 3D, you have been to some degree programmed to get your worth by devaluing yourself, either a little bit or a lot. So you must understand as a human being, when you go after what your soul wants, you will begin to shift your vibration up towards that energy of pure love which is hitting us. And simultaneously, your unconscious false belief that your value comes from getting approval from the world, that will kick in. And you will be in conflict. Now, this, again, depending on how healthy you are, will dictate how painful this is for you. But make no mistake about it. This love frequency that's hitting the earth, there are some people that are in incredible pain and suffering deeply. And it's not because of the love that's hitting them. It's because of the self-devaluing resistance that believes that their survival depends on being devalued is kicking in. And it is incredibly painful. Because in order to drop the self-devaluation armor, because it's like an armor, in order to drop that, you must mourn all of the lack of love you didn't get. You must mourn all the rejection you did experience. And this is the most difficult part of this shift. And, again, this is why you can't think yourself, when people come on the channel and I tell you, if you come on here and you think that just listening to me is going to help you shift to 5D, you're probably wrong. The only way out is to take positive action. And the simplest action is to do the very simple movements that I teach here in the Qigong, the free stuff. The simple movements that I teach will shift the frequency in your body. And you will have to face that conflict. You will have to face the pain. There are people who do the practices, and I had this experience as well, especially when I was doing the 5-element, the Maoshan 5-element. You feel the bliss of the energy come through, which is the love of the universe. And it's your soul bathing in higher frequencies of love. And then what happens right after that is all of a sudden all these negative feelings come up. You start crying for no reason. You might even get physically uncomfortable. What was happening to me is when I was doing the Maoshan practices, in case you want to know what I'm talking about. When I was doing the Maoshan practices, the amount of energy that was flowing through me was so incredibly blissful. And I would do these practices for hours because of the energy going through me and just the bliss that I felt. And then when I would close down and finish the practice, I would be in a fetal position on the ground because the emotional pain was overwhelming. But the emotional pain was nothing more than me feeling the mourning of the wounds that I had endured as a child, the psychological rejection, the devaluation, the abuse. And so this is what's so sad and frustrating for me. is that the people who need this the most are the people who will resist it the most. And I can only imagine how difficult it is for the light beings. You know, I was thinking about them because, you know, they have been here forever, since before human beings even existed. And they've been here, and their only reason for traveling to our planet is to give us help in evolving. They love us more than you can possibly imagine. The amount of love that these beings have for us is, I mean, you'd explode if you felt just for 1 second how deeply they loved you. But they're not codependent, because they're not going to appeal to your need to devalue yourself. And they're not going to co-sign that. So the sad part for me, I don't know how they feel. I don't know if they feel sadness or, you know, I don't know what that's like for them. For me, it makes me very sad. But I know it must be difficult to be loving somebody unconditionally and having their response be pure hatred. How do I know this is happening? Because let me just tell you, there is no such thing, first off, there's no such thing as alien abductions. The abductions that are being done by humans pretending to be aliens, either with psychological warfare or with drugs or with technology or with robots or whatever. Every single alien abduction has been done by humans. And it's been done on purpose. If you want to know why, it's been done for 2 reasons. One is to be able to do medical experiments on human beings. And I'm telling you the truth, a lot of our medical procedures and drugs came from alien abduction experiments on humans. The second reason they do it is because these dark force people who are running the world know that if you open yourself up to the power of these beings, you will become so empowered and so enlightened, and you will be so filled with self-love that you will not be able to be controlled. So they knew this time in history was coming, where there will be a time when there's going to be open interaction with light beings and humans. Human beings will be walking down the road hand in hand with a light being from another planet. That's coming. They knew that if people allowed themselves to be empowered, that those dark forces would lose all of their power over us. But what's interesting, I'm noticing this, is that if they reach out to you, if a higher being reaches out to you, there's a risk that you will respond out of your fear. And your fear is the fear of being loved. This is the main fear of human beings. The fear of being truly seen and loved is the most frightening thing. And it feels like it's killing you. I talk to higher dimensional beings and ETs every day. I mean, some days are more powerful than others. Things have been powerful lately. But I'm going to tell you the truth. When I get, when these light beings, text me, I say they're texting me, I'll feel the energy coming in, and I can hear them, calling, come and talk to us, come and visit us. And they're asking me to go into meditation and go into higher dimensions and commune with them. But I won't lie to you. Every time that I feel that, I feel fear. I feel fear and I feel sadness. And it's because my 3D self knows that every time I go into a higher dimensional state and communicate with these beings, that I die a little bit to my 3rd dimensional programming. And so I've learned, the warrior in me says, to have what I want, I've got to be willing to go through what Odin did, which was to die to himself. He sacrificed himself, small s, to himself, big S. And it is challenging. It can be very painful. And unfortunately, the people who are unwilling to be completely loved are the people who will resist. And just to underline this fact even more, you're hearing now about it didn't go anywhere. The dark forces really thought this was going to take off, and it didn't. The mainstream media talked about it all the time, trying to get people afraid. These so-called whistleblowers are coming forth saying that they have evidence that there is a government UFO crash retrieval program. And it's a lie. The truth is that every single UFO that has crashed has been shot down. They didn't crash. Roswell was not an accident. They were shot down by humans. Humans have had the ability to shoot down alien aircraft since World War II. They have technologies that we don't know about. So that means that these beings continue to come and continue to act like angels and guides and continue to give unconditional love to these humans who are trying to kill them, actively at war with them. And I can't imagine what that feels like. I mean, I can imagine what it would feel like for me, but I don't know what it feels like for them. And at the very least, it must be difficult and frustrating to be pouring out unconditional, valued love, not people-pleasing, fix you when you don't ask for it, but giving you the love that tells you that you have value. You are divine. I wish you could see yourself the way I see you. Imagine saying that to somebody. You walk up to somebody and you pour love onto them and you tell them, I see you as a perfect divine being. And their response is to pull out a gun and shoot you. That is what is happening. And this is the first time in my life I've seen this to this degree. I mean, I've seen that, but I'm experiencing it. There are people who I tell them to their face, I have nothing but love for you. I only want what makes you happy. And their response is to call me the worst names I've ever heard. And it's like, I mean, how is that an appropriate response to being loved? But, I'm grateful for it because I now know what these light beings feel like. I don't know how it affects them, but it's got to be something. It can't be a pleasant experience for them, because they're taking their life in their hands every time they try and come and help us. Every single time. Every time that this is why I don't call for ships to come to my house anymore. I stopped doing that. I just go into meditation and I go into other dimensions and I communicate with them there. Because I don't want to put them at risk. I don't want them to have to, come and say hi to me in their spaceship and get shot down in the process. It's not fair to them. All right. So anyway, I babbled a lot. Maybe I made some sense. Maybe I didn't. Same things, same message. You're not going to change if you don't do the work. If you don't do the work, you're not going to change. So I'm giving you the the tools that I have. If you don't want to, if you're 10 years old and you live with your parents, or you're homeless or whatever, and you live in a box and you don't you don't want to subscribe or buy anything, I'm giving you the free practices. Go onto the playlists and go nuts. Learn how to search my channel. Use my channel as a learning resource. Learn how to search within the channel. This entire channel is devoted to nothing but your empowerment and your awakening. And there's so many tools in here we can't even count. For those of you that are dead serious and you know that you want this path, the 90-day challenge at thunderwizard.com is there for you, and the 923.thunderwizard.com is there for you, as well as my books. Okay, I don't know if anybody's here. It says there's a few people here. I'm not taking any questions. Again, I took a question recently and I ended up hurting somebody's feelings, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, so it's almost safer that I don't take a question. If I absolutely see something that I feel I can respond to, I will. Okay. Okay, very good. Thanks for the kind words, Maclovia and Teja. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, that's it for me. Thanks for letting me rant. I just needed to talk about this, and it takes work it takes work for me. When I get to the place where I'm completely impervious to other people's abuse, I'll let you know. But it's painful. It still hurts. Being people whom you love treating you like you're out to destroy them is for somebody. This is the hardest thing, and it used to infuriate me. Now it just saddens me. But when somebody misinterprets my thoughts and my feelings for something it's not, is very painful. When somebody experiences my love as an attack on them, is very painful for me. When they start telling me, how abusive I am, when none of that is going on, and it reminds me of what the ETs go through. But I also know that this is what happens, and so we're not done. I don't know. I feel like something's going to happen tomorrow, which will be the 18th. I could be wrong about that, but I think I got a message that something might happen on the 18th. So keep your eyes peeled. I definitely think that we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to global catastrophes. But perhaps if we all meditate and go into 5D and create our new reality, perhaps we can change that. So I give that to you. Anyways, thank you guys for showing up. I wish you all the best. I love you all. And if I don't get beamed up to the Starship Enterprise, or if the Flash don't come, I will see you guys all very soon. Take care.